Are you ready for fan-driven Razorback talk? For the fans, by the fans. This is Inside the Hog Pen with your hosts, Razorback Zach and Marcus MC Carlton.
Let me talk to you.
Oh, what is up, everybody? It is another pod exclusive here on ITHP. I am Razorback Zach from the Central Arkansas Hog Pen, joined by my two cohorts, Marcus MC Carlton, who looks like he could be in a motorcycle club, but that's for later on in the show. And of course, the beard behind the board, Jesse Thurman. What's up, fellas?
How's it going, man?
Don't ask me that.
I've been told a lot of things before, but I don't think I think this is the first that I've been told I look like I could be in a motorcycle club. I'm kind of
our guest. First off, our guest today is the one that said it, not me.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get to him in just a second. But hi, Jesse. How are you, EP?
I'm doing good now that we got stuff working. Ready for football this weekend.
I really wish y'all could hear these outtakes. Oh my god.
Oh, they're recorded, Zach. They'll be on the holiday special.
Yeah. I know. This just don't make it as bad as the Star Wars holiday special.
I start saying we're going to approach Star Wars holiday special ratings.
I think we've done bypass that a couple times, but that's not why we're here. We're here today to talk about Oklahoma State, and got a special guest in studio today in the Meeks Design Company studios. He is at All Day O State on Twitter. He is Cody Stovall from Locked On Oklahoma State. Cody, welcome to Inside the Hog Pen, my man.
How's it going, gentlemen? It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you kindly. Of course, I think this is going to be a big game, but now that you guys have this offensive explosion and the number one defense in America, it just got kicked up an extra notch or two. I'm here for it, fellas.
Okay, so he did take a pot shot at MC, and now he took a shot at me.
I am looking forward to it. First question I have, why is it taking 44 years for us to get each other back on the schedule?
It is weird, honestly, just because, now we have this conference realignment happening all over the place. You would think from a geographical perspective, any chance you have to kind of reconnect some of those old school geographical dots, I would do it, especially since we're spread out all across the country more and more and more. So hopefully this is something that becomes somewhat of a normalcy moving forward.
Okay, so I'm going to hit you with a pop quiz question, Cody, before we get too deep off into this.
Hit me, Goose.
Arkansas and Oklahoma State have played in 5 different cities. Can you name them?
I would. Oh, no. Okay, hold on. TV timeout. Let's say, I'm going to say Houston's one for sure.
Wrong.
Dallas.
Wrong.
I'm just going to keep going here and get wild and say Roswell, New Mexico, or Boise, South Dakota. Probably Stillwater, Minnesota for sure.
That's not right. No,
okay.
He gets partial credit for Stillwater.
He is partial Stillwater, though. Yeah. Yes. But Stillwater, Oklahoma, obviously, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, Fort Smith, Arkansas, and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
I mean,
that Fort Smith one, I'm borderline whether I'm allowing that one to go or not, because I think if you add all of our ages up, it would have happened before any of us were born.
1940s was when that took place.
Yeah, okay.
1943, Zach.
Yeah, so it was the 1940s. But MC was around during that time. I'm just kidding, brother. I'm going to pay for that one later.
Sending the club to your house, man. You better watch out.
I was going to say, at least, hey, maybe his MC was bad.
Yeah, the MC may have been around.
There you go.
So let's talk Oklahoma State for a minute. I mean, because everybody knows Arkansas 70-0 against baby brother UAPB. Which, again, I will say this until the cows come up. You're supposed to beat an in-state team, and you're supposed to beat a opponent as such as that badly. But Oklahoma State, are they? I mean, how are they? I mean, the 17th in the country, obviously, but what outside of Ollie Gordon? I mean, how's your offense looking this year under Mike Gundy, who's been here 30 plus years already?
He's going on 20 as a coach, but he did coach before that for a few years. He obviously was a quarterback for a few years. So collectively speaking, yeah, he has really spent 30 years of his life dedicated to Oklahoma State University. And honestly, from an offensive perspective, right, I would love to sit here and say outside of Ollie Gordon, we have a plethora of weapons, which I do indeed believe that we do, right? We had several wide receivers that had 7 catches, 5 catches, 4 catches, 88 yards, 76 yards, 65 yards. But the distribution of the ball is going to come down to Alan Bowman. We did see an improvement in Alan Bowman week 1, but North Dakota or South Dakota State, it's a good ball club, but it's nothing like the defensive line you're going to approach when you hit Arkansas. So from a wide receiver perspective, we do have quite a bit of talent. I think it's a little underestimated at the moment. But the offensive line for having 172 starts between the main 5 and over 220 starts when you combine the other dudes behind them, they didn't open a whole lot of holes or get to the second level, which is something I did notice from Arkansas. Your offensive line was getting to the third level. Our O-line wasn't even getting to the second level. So that's one thing I would notice to be a little bit problematic.
Yeah, I'm looking at your stats from last week, and Ollie Gordon had 27 rushes for only 104 yards. He only averaged less than maybe about 4 a carry. Is it because like you said, the offensive line is struggling, or is it just because, it's week 1, they were trying to knock the rust off and trying to settle down a little bit?
I think it was stubbornness from our offensive coordinator because he expected a little bit more. So he decided, I'm going to keep going back to it and I'm going to make this make sense. And there is a minor correction. Do with it what you will. All right. But there was a swing pass that was credited as a rush. And now he has 126 yards because they determined the ball was behind the line of scrimmage. All right. So you take back those negative 4 yards of carry words. And that's just a long handoff. Okay. It's just a very long handoff.
You say, and I'm going to turn it over to MC here in just a second, but you say that your offensive coordinator was a little overzealous. Was his name Dan Enos?
No, his name was Casey Dunn. Sorry.
Casey Dung?
Something like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Dude, that guy. Don't get hang on to it. Don't do it.
We spent all of last season complaining about anything you could complain about with an offensive coordinator. So thankfully we're out of that world and we're back to the point where right now, our offensive coordinator is just south of God in the state of Arkansas. So
touchdown, Jesus.
I want to talk a little bit about Alan Bowman for the fans who may not be familiar with him. Tell us a little bit about his game and how is it that he was able to actually have classes on campus with Mike Gundy and still be eligible?
It's this NIL transfer market era, I'm telling you. And then obviously you got to thank old Uncle COVID for kicking in some extra time there.
So what year is he? Is he year 5, 6?
He's year 7.
7. Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yep. Yeah, you're 7. And you know what? I will say this. He is old as get out. His AARP membership is going to be eligible as soon as he graduates. But nonetheless, you would expect, or at least hope, somebody to be this far along in the collegiate game to have a better understanding. Now, from a physiological standpoint, I didn't think that he could improve his pocket presence nor his pocket awareness 7 years magically into the game of football, right? Mm-hmm. But we did see it in the spring. We saw it in the fall. And then cross your fingers, we saw it in game 1. The question is, will we see it against a defensive line that is going to put more pressure more often than not on this very veteran O-line that, didn't do quite enough?
Well, maybe after the game is over, maybe Alan Bowman and our 28-year-old freshman wide receiver Monty Harrison can get together and maybe have dinner and drinks before, and still hit the early bird special. I mean, it is an 11 a.m. game, so those two old farts should be able to hit the early bird and be ready to be ready for bed by 9 o'clock.
Listen,
whoa!
Don't you be messing up Alan Bowman's beauty rest, okay? Don't need that.
Why are you throwing the early bird special out there? Come on, I take part in that.
I'm the old man of the group. I know all about the early bird special. I'm interested to see the matchup because I think after the performance Ollie Gordon had, I don't, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think he's satisfied with that considering everything he put up last year. You know, I was on a show last Friday here in the state and I was asked about Oklahoma State and I said, well, everything begins and ends on offense with Ollie Gordon. And I said, I made the comparison that he is to Oklahoma State's offense what Darren McFadden was to Arkansas's offense when he was here. Do you think that's a fair comparison? As far as being a key to how the offense runs, everything's got to run through him.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because we're anticipating more often than not teams are going to load the box to try to stop Ollie Gordon. And when that happens, I think it'll allow us to showcase our wide receivers because this isn't the Oklahoma State of old. We don't have 4 wide, 5 wide sets, right? We do some ace formation stuff, obviously not as innovative or creative to some degree as Bobby Petrino, but we'll do some different packaging, right? We'll implement some different shifts and different motions that we didn't see in week 1 that should be able to implement more of the wide receiver game if they're keying off Ollie Gordon. If you're not keying off Ollie Gordon, or the perfect example would be Texas. Last year, Texas was the only team in the country, other than the first 3 games of the year, that didn't have to put an extra dude in the box 24/7, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, their matchups on the outside made life much more easy for them, and we weren't allowed to exploit as much. So if you have the talent of Texas and you can play literally man on man on man without having to use an extra body, then yeah, you can have a whale of a game. But if you do have to dedicate that extra guy to Ollie, we've got more than enough. But guys, please do remember, Casey Dunn sucks as an OC, right? But he's still the wide receiver guru that's got a bunch of dudes in the NFL. So wide receiver position talent is not going to be a question.
Cody, when you're looking at games this season, this is the 11 o'clock kickoff. I believe this is your first 11 o'clock kickoff of the season. Does that have an effect on your fan base like it does ours? I know it's an odd question, but I've got a point after you answer.
I would say not really because we're kind of used to it, right? Oklahoma State hasn't necessarily been up in the pantheon of getting your game days 6 p.m., 7 p.m., marquee games, right? So when Oklahoma State was on its come up under Mike Gundy, we were in these ball games a lot, so it's not that big of a deal. Now that we're at the upper end of the Big 12, it's slightly disrespectful, but it's not bothersome yet. No.
So what you're saying is now that Texas and Oklahoma are no longer in the Big 12, you are the benchmark of the Big 12.
Well, we should be, right? Because legitimately speaking, if you look at the Big 12, the only team that had more W's was OU. So with OU being gone, and Texas was obviously in the mix a little ways behind us. But with those 2 teams being gone, we should be that. And I know Utah, historically speaking, is just like 3 wins less than Mike Gundy, same exact number of losses. So they're going to be up there. But people tend to forget that they were pretty new into the Pac-12 too. They have a lot of those Mountain West Pac 2-point whatever conference W's mixed in there. So that's the reasons that I think Oklahoma State should be the flag bearer of the Big 12. We just have to go prove it.
If you could put your own personal swing on this answer, if you could.
Okay.
The matchup you're looking more forward to the most, whether it be in the trenches, OK State's offensive line versus our defensive line, or the running backs versus linebackers. What is the matchup that you're looking at from an Oklahoma State standpoint that you're most interested in come Saturday at 11 o'clock?
This is easy. Luke Hawes versus Kendall Daniels. 2 4-star All-Americans that are both from the state of Oklahoma.
Oh, I forgot about Luke Hawes.
That's a good one.
I was going to go Xavier Story and Ollie Gordon.
That could be a good one as well, but I like where Cody went with this because it hadn't even clicked with me that this is Luke Haas going back to his home state, and the man wants to put on for home. I mean, he wants to go out, he wants to have a big game, and on the flip side of that, the Cowboys would like nothing more than to bring him in and shut him down, and just make him a non-factor in the game.
You nailed it, 100%. I mean, There's may not be a lot of animosity between Oklahoma State and Arkansas, but there is some animosity, just the fact that Luke Haas left the state to go to Arkansas. And I don't think it's like an insurmountable amount of shade I'm throwing here, but it almost feels like I don't know. It's a little dirtier than him even almost going to OU, because at least if he would have went to OU, we could have, talked a lot of crap and got very angry. But it does hit a little bit different when they leave the state entirely.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We MC, we know all about.
We know all about that. I mean, it's just kind of it's a hit below the belt when you have somebody that you see on the high school level. It's like, man, he could be a difference maker at, in your case, Okie State, or with us with the Razorbacks, and he ends up at Auburn or he ends up at Missouri.
I mean, we're not exactly a tight end, haven for recruits, but we did just re-implement it into the offense last season, and we had a good showing of production from Josiah Johnson. But this is our first year of really re-recruiting the tight end position. And when I say re-recruiting, I'm using that term loosely, because to really consider big time Oklahoma State tight end, you got to go back to Blake Jarwin, and before that you got to go to the 90s. It's just not really a position that we focused on, right? So
yeah,
it would have been easy for Luke Haas to come in and start as a freshman, and to see him in Arkansas not only be a good tight end, but to absolutely dominate people while doing so and making it look easy. It was so frustrating. I'm so glad he didn't play much of the second half. Okay.
Yeah, we definitely missed him, and our offense took a hit last year when he went down. I was actually at the Texas A&M game when he got hurt, and it happened literally right in front of me. And I immediately, when I saw him, the way he was, kind of holding his shoulder when he tried to get up, I immediately started texting people. I was like, Haas is out. It's just one of those deals where you could see it, and you could kind of see the way everybody was acting around him. You knew it was bad, and it was probably going to be, significant portion of the season, if not the rest of the entire season. But anyway, he's back. He's healthy. I like your matchup there. I think that'll definitely be one to watch. So let me ask you this. What is the pulse of Oklahoma State fans for this game? Because Arkansas fans, from everything we've seen, people that have commented on our show and just people we've talked to, a lot of people are using this game as a measuring stick before we get into SEC play, because this is by far the biggest non-conference game that we're going to have, and it's the most similar to what an SEC opponent would be as far as the talent level. So Arkansas fans are really kind of using this game like, man, if we could get this Oklahoma State game, that makes us feel a lot better about bowl eligibility coming off the bad season that we came off of last year.
Yeah, no, I do think that it's a fair barometer. I don't think it's a reach by any stretch, right? If you look at it from a size perspective alone, yes, like defensive tackle, we got a guy in Colin Clay that's 6'3", 325 pounds. Right next to him, we have Justin Kirkland at 6'3", 355 pounds.
That's some beef right there, man.
Our other defensive tackle, Iman Oates, 305. We have a plethora of dudes over 300, 305, 320 pounds, which is, again, somewhat new for Oklahoma State. So it's nice to have these guys. But yeah, this is the difference between having a 1 deep and now a 2 deep with the same amount of size. It is definitely going to be a test for Arkansas. So from a physicality perspective in the trenches, yeah, there's going to be some SEC schools that don't even have the size of Oklahoma State. So it should be a good barometer. And then again, from the skill positions, right? Ollie Gordon is arguably, if not the best running back in the country. He's easily top 2, right? And outside of that, I think, again, you have DeJon Stribling, who is a phenomenal wide receiver. Brendan Presley's going to be NFL bound, going to be a draft pick, more likely than not, right? Rashad Owens, he's a beast of a dude that's bounced between wide receiver, tight end, cowboy back, tight end, back to wide receiver. And at 230 pounds, he's difficult to contend with as a wide receiver. We've got a lot of depth at the skill position. And then defensively, dude, Nick Martin he's a different cat. Right? Everybody loves seeing Malcolm Rodriguez, a.k.a. Rodrigo, in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He's bigger than Nick Martin. He's bigger than Malcolm Rodriguez. He's faster than Malcolm Rodriguez. And he's more aggressive than Malcolm Rodriguez. So if Arkansas fans are looking for somebody to pay attention to that may be a little outside the norm, it's going to be Nick Martin. I mean, that guy is ridiculous. And then Kendall Daniels, right, at 6'4", 242-pound safety that was so daggone big, we had to move him to the linebacker. We didn't have a choice. He was just too big for safety. And then, we have more guys coming back that are going to mean a lot to this ball club that we're going to have to pay attention to if you're an Arkansas fan. Another one of those being Corey Black at corner.
So as far as last week's game, you guys handled your business against South Dakota State, which, if people don't realize, South Dakota State is they're not on the same level with Pine Bluff. This is a really, really good division. I still call it Division 1A football championship series.
Yeah.
Very good team. I believe defending national champs, I think.
I was going to ask, weren't they?
Yeah.
Was it them or was it North Dakota? One of the Dakotas.
It was South Dakota, I believe, South Dakota State. So coming into that, and a lot of people predicted that this would be Oklahoma State would win, but it would be a closer game. Did you guys come out of that pretty much healthy? No key injuries in that game?
Yeah, there wasn't anything of note that happened from a injury standpoint. Coming into the game, we did find out that we did have a linebacker out that was slightly troublesome. But at the end of the day, yeah, we escaped injuries. We're coming into this game pretty healthy, which is always, a big deal.
So for any Arkansas fans that have never been to Boone Pickens Stadium and they're listening to this as they're getting ready to go over, what kind of advice you got for them coming into, because that place can get pretty rowdy, man.
Well, it can, and it's because of the intimacy. And if you've played college football 25 and you thought that those sidelines are way too close, that's actually legitimately accurate. So fans, right, they can reach over and physically touch the players. Don't do it. It's probably a good way to get your tail whooped, but you are literally that close. We can hear all of your conversations. So every word that's thrown around, every complaint, every argument, we can hear if the coaches are arguing with each other. And trust and believe, the minute we hear stuff, we're just going to expound upon it and be like, oh, he's mad at him. Oh, he doesn't like you. And we just, it because you cannot get away from it. The only way you can go to get away from the fans being literally right behind you and breathing down your neck is in the locker room, right? So the intimacy of the field does make it difficult, not necessarily because of the proximity, but because we are literally right there. We can have conversations. We can repeat conversations. We can repeat any plays that are said a little bit too loud. It makes it very frustrating. And it can make a snowballing effect take over pretty quick. But I will also admit, outside of, when the game is happening, from a fan's perspective, we're very welcoming and we like to have a lot of fun. So there's not going to be a bunch of crazy hooliganry or anything like that. But
so what you're saying is you guys are not like LSU.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Hey, just to kind of add a little context to that. So my uncle is a deacon of church, has been forever. I mean, my entire life. Okay. He went to LSU one time. He said he would never go back because that's the closest he's ever been to wanting to fight somebody in his entire life.
That's a story I haven't heard. Oh, wow.
So if you can take a man that, a man that's a deacon of a church and have him to the point where he's taking his glasses off, putting them in his pocket and ready to whoop some tail, then it's pretty bad.
It's the equivalent of a woman taking her earrings off ready to throw down.
No doubt.
Good. We're going to step away for a break real quick. On the other side of the break, we're going to continue our conversation with Cody Stovall at All Day O State from Locked On Oklahoma State. You're listening to the pod exclusive of Oklahoma State pregame on the Sideline Radio Network. Chef James Harris is the go-to for our catering needs at Inside the Hog Pit, and he should be yours as well. Whether it's tailgating, a wedding celebration, or a simple Wednesday night meal that you don't have to prepare, Chef James builds the platform for an incredible dining experience. And with a wide variety of styles and influences, you can be sure Chef will have the menu ready for whatever your needs are. Oh, and by the way, fellas, looking for a romantic date idea? Chef James offers private chef services as well. Think about it. Just you, your significant other, and a beautifully prepared meal all in the comfort of your own home. Check out Harris Made Chef Services now on Facebook at Harris-Made, or give Chef a call at 609-816-5629 to discuss your culinary needs. Ooh, Welcome back to ITHP's pod exclusive Oklahoma State pregame. Speaking of pregame, if y'all don't have anything to do on game days and, Arkansas's away, this week, come hang out with me. Boudreaux's 9811 Maumelle Boulevard. I'll be there for the 103. Ooh, can't say that anymore. Roger Scott's watch party. They get in trouble when you call it anything technical.
Yeah.
But 10:30 to the end of the game, I'll have the Harris Made Chef Services pregame show live from Boudreaux's this weekend. That should kick off about 10:30-ish, 10:45. We're going to keep it light because the game is so early. But that's one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast. That's why. And then stay tuned after the game, the Allen Kerr Advisors fifth quarter postgame show, where we break it all down. And no offense, Cody, but I'm hoping we're talking about a win.
I would be offended if you thought otherwise.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you're undefeated and in the hunt until you're not, right?
Hey guys, here's the deal. It's not even so much about the game or the points or the second half, right? Quarters, the way they were split up. It's the fact that y'all went 10 for 10 with all touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the crazy part. You can't hardly do that against a high school scout team.
80.
I can't do that on my Xbox. I can't go 10 for 10 on my Xbox.
80. You can if you screw with the AI.
Yeah, without taking it down to junior varsity level. I mean, yeah.
Arkansas took 92 players. They played 83. So I pray that the kicking team was the 6 players that did not get to see the field.
Well, we know 2 of them because we did have 2 starters out on offense.
Armstrong. And I'm okay with them having holding out on Andrew Armstrong, to be honest with you. I am. But Cody, let me ask you this. Could this be the start of an Arkansas-Oklahoma State rivalry? I mean, they're only separated by about 3 hours. Norman, y'all's illustrious former rival, which we're going to get into that towards the end of the podcast because I have to know. Could we see a budding rivalry again between Oklahoma State and Arkansas?
I mean, it's always a possibility, and I think the first thing that reintroduced this possibility was when Arkansas came to Stillwater for baseball a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Dude, that was absolutely wild. So there was Oklahoma State fans then that were like, could you imagine what this would be like in football? And then obviously now we're going to have that experience. Yeah. So even if it's maybe not an every year deal, if it's a once every other year or every 3-year style of deal, I think it makes a lot of sense because Bedlam is not going to happen for a while. And, we need to have some of that SEC flavor, man.
So I'm glad you brought up the baseball thing because it was just announced earlier today that Oklahoma State is coming over on Arkansas's football off weekend for a 2-game exhibition fall ball series with Arkansas here at Baum Stadium.
We will have coverage of that. I'm only 45 minutes from Baum Walker, and you know how I love my baseball.
Well, between you and Savage,
well, I know Jason Jones is going to be fired up.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Jason Jones transferred over to Stillwater. Yeah,
wonder how that's going to go down. Hey, but we're going to take a little nonsensical approach for the rest of the podcast. Just kind of shoot the breeze a little bit. What happened to Bedlam? Are y'all not going to do that anymore, or is that what happened? Why did that fall apart?
I mean, I hope. Well, why it fell apart is because they left. Now, if you listen to OU fans, they'll say, "You ready? Oklahoma State's too scared to play Bedlam." That's what you'll get. But they know good and daggone well that all of our schedules are scheduled out for years, right? So we have this thing with Arkansas back and forth. Then we have a home and away with Alabama, a home and away with Oregon. So it's going to take like 8 years before all of the home and away contractual things are lined out. Now, if OU really wanted a piece of Bedlam, even though they've lost 2 of the last 3 years, so I really don't think they do. But if they really wanted that kind of smoke, you don't think they could easily buy out Tulsa's contract with us for the next 5-6 years? Well, you don't think they could if they really wanted to? No, they don't want the smoke any more than anybody else wants to talk about this whole fictitious they're Oklahoma State scared thing.
Take that reasoning, and I will up you Notre Dame backing out of our scheduling in the next couple of years. Yes, MC, I don't know if you saw that, but Notre Dame has pretty much pulled out of playing us.
I did not see that. They were supposed to be on the schedule. We had a home and home coming up.
We had a home and home with them, and apparently from what I've read and what I was told, Notre Dame has pulled out. So it's possible if Oklahoma State and Oklahoma really wants it. But in the terms of the Big 12, I mean, y'all have got a completely revamped conference now. Where does Oklahoma State, I mean, where do the fans feel like Oklahoma State will play out in all of this? I mean, realistically.
Well, I think, it would be a ridiculous statement to say anything other than the expectation is to at least compete for a Big 12 title. Whenever you look at Oklahoma State, prognostications typically have us around third or fourth in the conference. Utah and Kansas State seem to be the darlings of everybody, which is 100% okay, right? But from our perspective, I don't know of another time we've ever had 20. I say 21 because I count Lyric Rawls, right, who was the starter for the first 3 games, got hurt. I consider him a starter. So anyways, if you want to call it 20, we can call it 20. I don't know of another time that 20 starters have come back ever. I know it's never happened in the 19 years that Mike Gundy's been doing it, and I don't think that it would have happened, back in the day either. So I don't know that it's ever going to happen again. 20 starters, especially in this transfer era, returning, and it's not like, with all due respect to Virginia Tech, I know they returned 20 starters too, but that's 20 starters from a 5-win ball club. Oklahoma State was a 10-win team that played for a Big 12 title and returned 90% of the roster with their 20 starters.
Like you said, man, I got to echo that a little bit. In this era where everything is NIL and nobody wants to, for lack of a better term, nobody wants to wait their turn to play. The fact that you bring back 20 starters is insane.
Yeah, we're in a rare spot, man.
Yeah.
And again, that's like, there was people out there, including myself, that thought maybe Mike Gundy was going through the Dabo Swinney or Nick Saban era where he wasn't adapting to this because he was refusing to play some of the cat and mouse style games that NIL collectives were wanting to be played, right? Mm-hmm. But Mike Gundy did, in fact, not only adapt to this new age landscape, he found a way last season to kind of fall back in love with football. He got the marker out. He did the X's and O's for the special teams the second half of the season. He did film again. And I think because of that, he's kind of got a youthful exuberance to him that we haven't seen in a long time.
I just don't let him cut his hair, man.
Don't let him cut his hair.
But I got it back out. He's bringing the mullet back because he caught so much flack for cutting it.
Yeah, he doesn't look right without the mullet, man. He's got to have that Kentucky waterfall back there that just kind of gives him his signature look.
It does fit.
So with Arkansas, we kind of look at games when the schedule's released to kind of hone in on as far as, okay, these are the games you got to watch to see where our season's headed. Okay, for us, it's at Auburn, and then you turn around the next week and go to Dallas for A&M. What about Oklahoma State? You don't have OU, you don't have Texas on your schedule. Which games would you pick, Cody, as a fan, similar to how we are with Arkansas, of where Oklahoma State, okay, this is a game I'm going to watch to see where this season heads?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it's the first half of the season for us, right? Because you just talked about with South Dakota State, good ball club. Arkansas, now we know, obviously a good ball club. Tulsa, it shouldn't be much of a test. And then we have Utah, K-State, West Virginia. Now, West Virginia looks much more fraudulent now than they did before last week, but that back-to-back game of Utah at home and then K-State on the road, I think those 2 games will determine the trajectory of the season. If we lose both of those, I mean, we may not reach the heights that we thought we were going to. If we win both of them, right, we should be, I don't want to say on easy street, but we should be in the driver's seat. And if we split them, then we just have to take care of business the rest of the way. So I would say Utah, K-State will make a big determination.
So realistically speaking, I mean, of course, every team wants to go 12-0, 13-0, 13, 14-0 with the playoff games now and the national championship. What would your season prediction be? I mean, you're 1-0 now. For the remaining 11 games, where does Oklahoma State's record go from here?
I mean, I was 10-2 for a very, very long time, but the more research I did, the more that I found out, the more film that I had seen on the improvements of Alan Bowman, and then obviously the news of Kendall Daniel moving to linebacker. 20 returning starters and 91% of the roster. I gotta say 11-1, man. There might be another time where I get to say this. So it's got to be 11-1. I have to.
Arkansas is going to be your one loss, right?
No. Now, I will say this, like, legitimately speaking, I don't think very many Oklahoma State fans were coming into this Arkansas game anticipating much more than a good battle up front, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just, you guys are an SEC school. You're going to have a bunch of 300, 320-pound dudes also. So we knew that was going to be a test. But, guys, KJ Jefferson, I'm not a big believer, okay? I thought we would have murdered KJ Jefferson. Well, we're going to find out with him at UCF. But I didn't see you guys having much. So I assume that, like most Oklahoma State fans, that we'd win by 14, 21-ish points. Well, after y'all put up a 70 burger and allowed 0 and 7 yards rushing, ain't nobody in Stillwater thinking that no more. I can promise you that.
So if you had to narrow it down to maybe 2, maybe 3 key points that, if let's say 3, and let's say if 2 of these happen, Oklahoma State is gonna win and win to the point where you're like, oh, okay, you can kind of have that safety exhale. What would be 2 points?
Well, I think you're going to have to be able to slow down that daggone running back that used to be a Texas quarterback, right? So he was a Big 12 quarterback, then a Big 12 running back, and now he's a hog, and he is good. Goodness me, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, he's an impressive individual. So I think if you slow him down, that's going to eliminate some of the offensive capabilities that y'all are going to have. And then I would say on the other side of the ball, is our secondary going to be able to contain y'all's wide receivers? Because if we can contain the running back and or the quarterback, that means there's going to be some matchups in the back end that are somewhat exploitable.
Well, and as it looks, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. And I would say Corey Black, this has to be his year. He's a 5th-year senior. And he got a pick the other day. He locked down pretty daggone well. But outside of him, we had a couple question marks that y'all could use.
Well, what I was going to say was the Andrew Armstrong is Arkansas's leading returning wide receiver. As it stands right now, he's pretty doubtful for Saturday, based on everything I've read. And then we've still got a starting offensive lineman, Patrick Kudus, that is Pittman's pretty much all but said Kudus is not going to play. So that's 2 key things right there that could play into the Arkansas offense. I think on Arkansas' side, and Zach, you jump in here with me anytime you want. Number 1,
no pressure on me.
Number 1 that is bold, italicized, and underlined: control Ollie Gordon.
Yes.
I think if you keep him, if he averages 3 yards a carry this week, I think that's good for Arkansas. I think that's your top one. Your second one is, I'm not sold on Arkansas's defensive secondary yet. I think there could be some issues there to where if Gordon is contained, let's say for the first quarter, maybe into the second quarter, the Gundy goes and opens up the playbook and starts looking downfield and going for the big chunk plays. I'm not sold that Arkansas secondary can prevent that. So I think that's 2 things for Arkansas that we have to watch to see, what happens there. But I think we're in for a good game, man. I think it could, I could see this being a touchdown or less, or I could see it all the way up to the 14 to 17 point range, and it all hinges back on how wild is Ollie Gordon allowed to run. If he runs wild and he's up 175, 180, then I think it's closer to a 14 to 17 point game. If he can kind of be, I'm not going to say stop him, but just kind of keep him maintained a little bit to where he's not just averaging 7, 8, 9 yards a carry, then I can see this being a touchdown lesser game.
I got to agree with everything MC just said. and I'll tell this little tidbit. Arkansas secondary was not tested last week.
No,
Arkansas not even close to being tested. This will be their first test. And I tell you that to tell you this because there was an Arkansas defensive coach I'm going to remain nameless, that was on his way down to the field from the press box after the game, and one of the media guys kind of nonchalantly said, "Well, that's a shutout. Y'all ought to be you ought to be pretty happy about that. Feel pretty good about it." The coach said, stone faced, no emotion, and just went, "No, there's a lot of things we've got to work on." So yeah, I agree that I'm nervous about this Arkansas secondary. Number one, number two is we've got to shut down Ollie Gordon. However, in shutting him down, we cannot be blind to the other offensive weapons that are on the field, the tight ends, the wide receivers, and I think even the quarterback can take off and scurry for a little bit.
I mean, as long as he's got his walker with him, he should be able to make a few yards.
Well,
right?
I mean, I give him credit. He's not playing for Florida State. So
since they won't let us have the QR code, I hear maybe he's putting in a request for a mobilized scooter. Then you're super screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, could be worse. Could be trying to sell beer for NIL money.
Oh man,
he could.
Hey, Cody, this has been great, man. I've enjoyed this. We'll have to have you back sometime. Hopefully we can bring you back and rub it in a little bit about Arkansas pulling the upset, but I'm not holding my breath on that, man. I'm just not fully convinced.
Before we go, I have a present that I've been waiting to give to Cody for his first time on the show.
Oh my goodness. And it was going so well.
I'm just kidding. I won't play the whole thing because apparently I've been told it's a jinx. But I got to give you a little hard time.
Well, is Arkansas bringing their band with them?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That is a good question. I don't know if they're going to games.
Well, just in case they're not, go ahead and play it again because you might not be playing it much.
Wait, Jesse, okay. Jesse, hit it. I know you want to hit it. Hit that button.
I fear the beard.
Yeah, that was well played,
Cody,
man.
Cody, dude, it's been great talking to you, man. Thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have a good time on Saturday. It's gonna be a good game, man. But hey, hope to have you back on sometime soon. Maybe during baseball in a couple of months when Arkansas and OSU takes on the baseball diamond, because we should have Jesse and Sarah. I'm talking to you here. Full coverage from Baum-Walker Stadium. But where can if Arkansas fans want to tune into your content? Tell them where to find you.
I do a daily show, Locked On Oklahoma State, on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. But I understand if you want to go the podcasting route, I don't blame you. And then from social media, I don't really mess with it. I do mess around with Twitter occasionally at Aldeo State, but I mean, I'm not super hard to find. I'll always be the loud bearded fella wearing orange typically.
We have a loud bearded fellow ourselves who wears Razorback red.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The only difficulty of being on this show was the fact that Jesse kept yelling and being a massive distraction.
I know he's very annoying on Wednesdays. Trust me. No, he's good, dude. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on with us and talking Oklahoma State. Best of luck on Saturday. Go Hogs! But
absolutely
Hogs.
Not that part.
Yeah. All right, that's gonna do it for us here on this pod exclusive of Oklahoma State pregame. For Marcus MC Carlton and Jesse the Beard Thurman, I'm Razorback Zach. So long until next time. Be sure to catch us Wednesday night, 7 p.m. inside the Hog Pen.
Thanks for watching this episode of Inside the Hog Pen. Listen anytime on your favorite podcast provider. And be sure to follow us on all our social network channels.